Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another exciting Multimedia Chronicles movie review. Today we're going to be talking about Mad Max. All of them. Mostly the new one, but we're going to touch on the old ones as well. Kind of like the way I did my Terminator review last week, so figured, yeah, that kind of works. Just do a little overview and then talk about the new one. So that's what we're going to do. Mad Max. All of them. Today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. Okay, so with Mad Max Fury Road hitting the theaters furiously last summer, I thought it was high time I checked out the originals again. And, well, Scream Factory to the rescue. They brought out a beautiful deluxe edition of the original, which, honestly, I was sure that I had seen it, but I didn't remember a thing about it. So it's entirely possible I had never seen it before. I don't know. But anyway, as with most Scream Factory releases, it's a collector's edition with original artwork on the slipcover, very nice, and then the original poster art on the inside. Now, when people think of Mad Max, they tend to think of just the franchise in general, they tend to think of the, high velocity races. Guess we don't need this anymore, do we? Let's move that out of the way. There we go. The high-velocity chase scenes in the post-apocalyptic wasteland. Well, not so in the first one. The first one actually takes place before the big apocalypse that wipes out everything. So what we have in the original Mad Max is kind of a dystopian, fascist society. A society is clearly breaking down and collapsing. I mean, the system is not working, and things are starting to fall apart. But we're not quite at the apocalypse yet. What this one is this sets up the story of Max and why he's so mad. So we have Max, who's basically a police officer, and he's chasing down this gang of thugs, and his wife and kid get just brutally murdered by them. And that's basically what sets him off. And then from that point on, it basically becomes a revenge flick. And but what a good one! It's pretty tense, man. It's pretty intense, and it definitely sets up the character of Max and why he's so tormented and such. But yeah, definitely, if you've only seen Fury Road, or if you've only seen from the Road Warrior on, you may be a little surprised by the setting of the original, because it's quite different. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't take long to get to where we are familiar with, however, because we have the Road Warrior, which came out the following year. This was 1980, this was 1981. So the Road Warrior, also known as Mad Max 2, the version on this Blu-ray actually goes by the title of Mad Max 2. But so in this one, the bombs have fallen and society is annihilated and everything's just a frickin' wasteland. So this one essentially is, probably the most natural predecessor to Fury Road. Pretty much the whole movie is just one big, massive chase scene. Lots of action, lots of intensity, and just a lot of fun. It's just a really, really great action, low-budget action movie. Some spectacular stunt work and stuff like that, and just a blast. This is the one that I think most people rewatch, because this is the one that most people think of when they think of Mad Max, and rightly so. It is definitely the best of the original trilogy by far. And then last, but most certainly not least, we have 1985's Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, with this beautiful Drew Struzan painted cover. Quite nice. This is the original poster art here. What can I say about Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome? Well, the first half of it is really good, where he's going into the... this is where we actually start to see some, elements of what we would see on a much grander scale in Fury Road. Namely, the rebuilding of society in a way, almost medieval, but with elements of technology in it. and such. I mean, you have the obligatory arena and everything. I love the fight between Max and Master Blaster in this. It's just, well, I guess Blaster, the big half of Master Blaster. It's just it's a lot of fun. And then Max gets kicked out of the city and goes off and rescues some kids from the wasteland, and it's like it becomes a whole different movie. And then it kind of gets back on track when he goes back to the city, but it just goes off into left field, and it's like this whole other movie, and you're kind of wondering like what happened. It was so awesome for the first half of it, and now it's just got turned into like, I mean, it works fine as like some kind of prophet coming in from the wasteland and saving the children story, but it just seems really kind of out of place for Mad Max. I don't know. It was definitely, also in terms of the violence and such, definitely a lot tamer than the previous two. The first two were basically low budget, more or less indie films, whereas this one was a big studio film. They latched onto it and pumped a lot more money into it. I mean, you notice that the production value is a lot higher in the third one. The sets are a lot more elaborate and things like that. On the plus side, I mean, it definitely gives you a lot more of a visually rich world to look at, whereas the Road Warrior is mostly out in the middle of the desert. Mad Max is basically in the city most of the time, a little bit out in the back roads of wherever they are, but Beyond Thunderdome gives you a little more of a more fleshed out post-apocalyptic world. You can see, if you play stuff like Fallout, you can see kind of some Mad Max influence in games like that and whatnot, and that all stems from these. Is a lot of what we see as the post-apocalyptic wasteland concept stems from these movies, and of course there was countless imitators as well over the years. I mean, all how many direct-to-VHS movies did we have, and whatnot. So anyway, overall, I really enjoy the original trilogy a lot. I would say my favorite is definitely the Road Warrior, and I like the first half of Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. The second half is okay, honestly, like as a movie, but it just doesn't have the same punch as the others. And the first one, I mean, the first one is pretty damn good too. I mean, it's just a really solid, kind of dystopian revenge flick, I guess would be the best way to describe it. But really good stuff. So that brings us to 2015. Just a few years after the last of the previous one, and by the same director. These are all directed by the same guy, George Miller. Awesome, good stuff. Love to see that. Now, here's the interesting thing about Fury Road is this is the 3D edition, of course, basically just the same cover, but with the slipcover you get the cool lenticularness. Can you see kind of see the 3D-ness there? Yeah. One of a few reasons I like to pick up the 3D editions. You get these cool lenticular covers, and I just love them. But also, one day I will get a 3D TV. They're coming down in price all the time. So, haha, I have joined them together. Yes, that's kind of weird. I've never actually had that. I'll just offset it slightly. There we go. Okay, so Mad Max Fury Road. I was going to say, the interesting thing about Fury Road is it can be considered a full-on reboot or a continuation, depending on your personal view of things. I actually, after watching it, I kind of like to think of it as a continuation. I like the idea of Max having wandered the wasteland for who knows how many years since we last saw him in Beyond Thunderdome, and he's just really broken up and tortured by his past and whatnot. However, you could also argue that no, it's more of a reboot that just kind of acknowledges, because I mean, when you see the flashbacks of his wife and kid being killed, it plays out differently than what we see in the original Mad Max. The end result is the same. They're brutally killed, and he's really broken up about it. But the events, I mean, we only see flashes, like very quick flashes. But from what little we see in that, we can see it seems to play out a little differently. But you might also argue that, well, Max wasn't there when they were killed. he found out about after the fact. That's just how he's visualizing it in his mind. He's visualizing it as being more intense and more brutal because of the emotional impact it had on him. So, I mean, you could form a pretty rational argument either way. I like to think of it as a continuation because I think it works perfectly fine there. And it certainly wouldn't be the first movie continuation we've seen that slightly retools the origin story to fit the direction they want to go in the new one. So I don't really have a problem with that. So I call it a continuation. Now, what did I think of the movie? Holy moly, what a ride. A lot of good things to say about this, not the least of which is the cinematography and just the visuals of it, like just the look of the film is absolutely jaw-dropping. Like it, even right from the first trailers that we saw, it was like, wow, this looks amazing. Like just visually, even if the movie itself sucks, the visuals look fantastic. And I'm not just talking like effects and sets and stuff. I'm just talking photography, the cinematography, the shots, the color, just the composition. Everything is just beautiful in this film. I mean, this could be any kind of other movie, some grand sweeping epic, some small scale drama. It could be anything. Like with this level of cinematography, and it would just look beautiful. As it stands, it's a Mad Max film, so it's a beautiful looking, high velocity action film. And wow, I can't remember the last time I saw an action film that looked this beautiful. Like, it is just gorgeous. You can watch this film and just pause on pretty much any random frame, and there's a wallpaper for your desktop right there. There's something you could print out and frame and hang on your wall, and it would look fantastic. And you could just stare at that image, that still frame, for hours and see different things in it. And it's just, yeah. I just can't say enough good things about how beautiful this movie looks. In terms of the story, pretty straightforward, Mad Max style romp, kind of shades of the Road Warrior, which is understandable. I mean, they're obviously, I say it's a continuation, but it is also a reboot, obviously, because they're introducing Mad Max to a whole new generation of viewers. I mean, it's been 30 plus years since we've seen the original, since the original trilogy ended. So we're introducing the world of Mad Max to a whole new generation. And as such, there needs to be some reintroduction. There needs to be some, callbacks to what has gone before. And the way it kind of felt to me was like, this is what the Road Warrior would have been if they'd had more money, essentially. Like, if they had the resources to do it on this scale, this is how they would have done it. Now, that said, the Road Warrior is still pretty frickin' spectacular, given what they had to work with at the time. And but Mad Max Fury Road just takes it to a whole new level. It very much has that Road Warrior vibe. So if you liked the Road Warrior, you're gonna love Fury Road, because it's basically more of the same but cranked up to 11. So in the case of the Road Warrior, where they were off trying to decoy the baddies away from the town and everything with by thinking that they were hauling fuel, whereas the real fuel truck was somewhere else. It's kind of similar with Fury Road, where they basically got a tank full of water in this case, and they're heading off to what they think is going to be this wonderful land of green and plenty. And so forth, and so it's basically just a quest for survival in this case. They're just trying to get away from the bad guys. They've got some women that they've rescued from the big bad guy. Basically, his breeding stock. He's stolen his breeders, and he's chasing after them, hopping mad, obviously. But so it's essentially a big chase movie. So the whole thing is just like right from the moment go. It is a chase that does not let up. Like, it is constantly on the move. There's a few very short moments where they got to repair the truck, or they meet up with a group of women, free women who are out in the wasteland surviving, and they're the last remnants of the place that they were trying to get to. So you get a little breather there. But the breathers are very brief. Like, it doesn't take long. I mean, there's always this sense of urgency, this sense of they have very limited time to do what they got to do. They got to repair the truck, because you can see the dust clouds and the silhouettes of the bad guys coming. And they're like, okay, they're going to be here in like 5 minutes, so we got to move. So we got to get the truck fixed and keep going. But yeah, man, I don't even know. I'm just at a loss for words. I just watched it last night, so it's still very fresh in my mind, and I'm still kind of recovering, like just recoiling and gathering my senses again. I mean, it really is just one of those sort of assault on the senses types of movies. And the fact that it's just so fucking beautiful to look at really throws you off, because you don't expect that level of cinematography from just a balls-to-the-wall action movie. This is really something rare that we really do not see. And after having watched it, I can see like instantly why it was nominated for so many awards. Very deservedly so. I mean, I really hope that this movie actually raises the bar for production value and like quality value in action films, because I mean, this shows and in and around all of the action and the beautiful cinematography, you also have a set of really well developed, interesting characters, many of whom go through some very interesting arcs over the course of the story. For example, the war boy that they meet up with and kind of joins up with them and stuff. He has a terrific arc. I mean, he starts off as one of the bad guys and then redeems himself over the course of it. And you feel really bad when he dies. You know, you like I shed a tear. I was like, I'm thinking like, my God, I'm shedding a tear for fucking War Boy, and because he really you really warm up to him, because he redeems himself, like fully, totally redeems himself, and you feel bad when he dies. You know, it makes you feel the feels, man. But and there's just so many great little moments in there, and much like this, if we just sort of look at the fun factor, I guess the first one is actually a pretty deadly serious movie. I mean, it's a straight up revenge movie. So there's not a lot of laughs to be had there, other than kind of some dark humor, in particular from Toe Cutter and his band of outlaws. There's just some great villains there, some real characters themselves. And then here with the Road Warrior, everything is just so ridiculously over the top. I mean, you have the main bad guy, the Humongous. And I wonder if that's where the term humongous came from. It's got to be where it came from. But yeah, and it's just a lot of fun, and there's definitely a fun factor there, and you get a little bit more humor in there. And then Beyond Thunderdome, same thing again. You get humor in addition to the action. Fury Road, there's a little bit of humor, but it's pretty intense. Like, the Max we see in Fury Road is a very tortured soul. He's seen some shit, and it's definitely had an effect on him. But there is definitely fun to be had there as well. But don't expect something light and fluffy. No, this is very literally a high octane action thriller chase movie with some just brutal violence and really intense moments. You know, it's an adrenaline rush. It is an adrenaline rush. It is something that I think warrants multiple viewings, because there's so much to see visually in it. One of the things that really struck me about it was just how fully realized the future post-apocalyptic world is, like in terms of the sets. In particular, when you see the city that kind of bookends the movie. And just when you see how the sort of society within that city works, and the big giant wheels that the slaves kind of walk on to to open and close the gigantic doors and stuff like that, just the mechanics of this world, because they have no power, because the power is long gone. I mean, the only thing that gives them power for their vehicles is gasoline, or guzzling, as they like to call it. They kind of have their own lingo too, which is cool. I like that. But just I don't know, just how you see everything in motion and working, and how it all functions, and it you get it immediately. But at the same time, as I was watching and seeing sort of all these mechanical things and how everything works, and this makes that go, and they do this to make this move, but my thought was just like, wow, this is so goddamn creative. Like, how did they come up with that? Like, there's a lot of things in this movie that really just blew me away creatively, as to how they came up with those ideas and such. And man, what a treat! What a real treat! I remember, just as a little aside, I remember talking to my ex and her boyfriend, and they said, "Oh yeah, we watched a bit of that new Mad Max movie, and we turned it off. It really sucked." And as soon as I heard that, I hadn't watched it yet, so as soon as I heard that, I didn't say anything. I was like, "Oh yeah, mm-hmm." As soon as I heard that, though, just this big grin kind of internally appeared on my face, and I thought, well, that pretty much sums up, or guarantees that I'm gonna love it. We have very differing tastes in movies. It tends to be the stuff that her boyfriend doesn't like, I love. So there you go. And I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how you can have any taste in movies and not appreciate this one. Like this is a case of taking an old franchise and reviving it for the modern era and doing it right. This is another one of those rare gems, like the Planet of the Apes movies, Dawn and Rise and Dawn. Those are fantastic as well. And this I rank among those as reboots done right. And I think one of the big reasons it works so well is you have George Miller, the guy who created it in the first place, at the helm. And he's already said he has at least a couple more movies, ideas that he'd like to do. So hopefully we'll see some more of Mad Max. And yeah, I was just gonna say, Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy as Max. Boy, what a worthy successor to Mel Gibson. He really makes that role his own. What an amazing actor. Like, he's just really proven how versatile he is. I mean, every role he plays is so different from whatever he's played before. I still remember when the one and only thing I had seen Tom Hardy in was Star Trek Nemesis as the Picard clone guy, and really wasn't impressed. But that may be because Star Trek Nemesis. I don't know. Since then, boy, has my tune ever changed as far as Tom Hardy goes. I think he's fantastic, and now he's become an actor that I look forward to seeing in new things, and always enjoy his performances in those. So, yeah, my apologies, Mr. Hardy, if I thought less of you for one of your earlier roles there. Clearly, that was not indicative of the full scope of your talents. Alrighty. Well, I think that about sums it up. Needless to say, fucking loved Fury Road. See it if you haven't. See the originals if you haven't. Just watch all four of them. Just have a marathon of Mad Max. Have a Maxathon. Yeah. So check it out. And I can't remember if I mentioned it in the intro or if it was the one I didn't use because I screwed it up. But I wore this because this guy was suitably angry. I don't have a Mad Max shirt, so I thought, well, this guy's mad. Good enough. Alrighty, that is it from me to you for now. So I'd just like to take a quick moment to thank my Patreon sponsors. Thank you, Patreon sponsors. You guys and gals are awesome. Extra big, super duper special thanks to Kyle Pellegrini, my level sponsors. Really, really appreciate the support, guys. You're helping to make the Multimedia Chronicles magic happen. And big thanks to everyone else who supports the show through Patreon as well. All your contributions are very, very appreciated, and you're, as I say, helping to make the magic happen. So thank you. Alrighty, that is it from me. So we'll see you next time. Until then, thanks for watching, and sayonara. Oh my god, after almost half an hour of gushing, I completely forgot to mention one of the big things that really blew me away about Fury Road. Practical effects, man! Real live stunts! Holy crap. There's a little bit of CG in here, obviously, for, some enhanced environmental effects. I mean, they didn't really drive into a gigantic freaking sandstorm tornado of death, but all of the vehicle stuff and the actual physical stunts, they did it all for real, apparently. Like, there's very, very little fakery there. They did as much as they possibly could the real way. I mean, with real people and real vehicles out in a real desert. George Miller does not fake it, man. Which just made it all the more spectacular, knowing that, and knowing how much was done with actual physical sets and actual actors doing real, genuine stunts. It just made it so much more intense. I mean, if it had been all CG, I mean, you can tell. I mean, even as advanced as CG is these days, you can tell when it's frickin' CG. And I don't know about you guys, but that takes me out of it. Like, seeing that it's actual, genuine, stunt people doing the real thing on real vehicles in real physical situations and environments makes it so much more intense. And I mean, that was the whole excitement of old school action movies to begin with. The fact that you knew these guys were doing it for real. I mean, just the amount of skill involved in being a professional stunt person is staggering. I mean, it's the kind of stuff that you got to be a little bit crazy, but you also really got to know what you're doing. And it just seems like with CG these days, it uses fake people, 3D rendered people to do all the dangerous stuff instead of having actual real people in it. And I'm not saying people should put themselves in danger all the time, but no, I mean, stunts done properly are done in a safe way, but that look exciting and dangerous. And this just goes to prove that you can still have a movie that does that in this day and age, and boy, does it ever make a difference. Like, it really, really makes a difference. It's like seeing the difference between, like, for example, take The Thing, the original 1982 The Thing, versus the 2011 version. The 1982 version looks better. Why? Because they had actual physical effects there, actual things for the actors to react to and interact with. And the 2011 version just doesn't look as good, plain and simple. But the same goes for stunts and stunt work and just practical effects in general. I mean, it makes it all more real. And Fury Road, I think, really benefits from that, having done as much as possible the old-fashioned way. And so it really has that a modern feel to it, but at the same time feeling old school. I mean, how many of us remember watching things like the old James Bond movies and just old action movies in general, and going like, wow, when we would see a really spectacular stunt of some kind. I mean, that wow factor just doesn't seem to be present in a lot of films nowadays. But Fury Road definitely has it. It has that wow factor because they did it for real, and that makes a huge difference. So, again, as I said, I hope this raises the bar for action movies and summer blockbusters in general. I hope it raises the bar in terms of maybe not using CG as a scapegoat all this time, as a go-to, but rather keeping all those fine stuntmen and women out there employed. God damn it, because that takes some serious skill to do, and years of training and know-how to do. And I mean, some of these people can do some amazing things and really deserve work. God damn it! So employ our stunt people, employ our practical effects people, and do more stuff like this, please and thank you. Alrighty, that is definitely it from me to you for now. So see you next Monday for another Movie Monday. Until then, sayonara. Greetings, everyone. Well, this guy seems angry enough. Movie review. Today we're going to talk about something. It's going to be angry. Today on the Multimedia Chronicles. I said that like Multimedia Chronicles. Hey. It was actually me trying not to belch during the last line.